Star Wars Battlefront 2. The real Battlefront 2. Thank you. Anyways, 15 years after its release, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is considered not just one of the best Star Wars games, but to many people it's one of the best video games ever made. Released on October 31st, 2005, less than 14 months after the original, Star Wars Battlefront 2 quickly became one of the most beloved Star Wars games ever made. And yes, you heard that right, LucasArts and Pandemic made this masterpiece of a game in less than 14 months. Meanwhile, it took BioWare 7 years to put out this load of bantha fodder. So get ready to watch those wrist sockets, because we're about to count down the 10 best things to love about Star Wars Battlefront 2. 2005. Number 10. Clips from the movies. Battlefront 2's campaign mode, Rise of the Empire, included clips from 5 of the Star Wars saga movies. From the Phantom Menace's Naboo to the ice planet of Hoth and The Empire Strikes Back, each level of the campaign is accompanied by a beautiful shot from the movies of the planet you are about to wage war on. While this wasn't the first Star Wars game to feature clips from the movies, these very brief shots helped to set the tone for your mission with the 501st. And I know what you're thinking, and don't worry, we'll come back and discuss the rest of the campaign later on in the video. These clips are one of the many pieces of fan service scattered throughout the game. There are also clips showing in the main menu, clips of good guys on one side and bad guys on the other. It shows the clear distinction between good and evil, which is one of the main themes in Star Wars. The thin line between the light and the dark. Though subtle, this shows how much Pandemic and LucasArts cared about this game and making sure it followed what Star Wars was all about, which is why players keep coming back to it this many years later. Number 9. Offline play. Now, if I were making this video back when this game came out, this would not be as big a deal. But in the days of online multiplayer games, it's nice to be able to put a game in your console and begin playing right away. No internet connection, no download, no patch. You've paid for the game, now go play it. Instant action is where most of us first got into the game. With this mode, you could immediately play the game on the map of your choice as the faction of your choice against competent, competitive AI bots. This is where most of us spent the majority of our time playing the game, whether by ourselves against the computer or with our friends on split screen, back when it was called split screen instead of a local party. It's crazy to play games like this now and see how much the video game industry has changed over the last 15 years. If a game like this came out today, it would be an immediate Game of the Year contender, because it reminds us of a simpler time. A time when this industry was not as clearly ruled by big corporations who cared nothing for their customers. I'm looking at you two over there. Instant action and offline play reminds us of a time when video games were just that, games. Something to play with our friends to have a good time. Now the industry is in a state where it feels like just about every company is trying to screw over as many of their customers and employees as possible. As a gamer, you have to constantly be on your toes in order to avoid being taken advantage of by greedy corporations who are run by people who have never held a controller or blown into a Nintendo cartridge. I just miss the days when these companies cared about making quality products. And every time I hit instant action, I'm reminded of the good times and how video games should be. Number 8. Game modes. One way to measure the greatness of a game like this is by looking at the variety it provides players in terms of game modes. And boy, does Battlefront 2 bring more than its fair share of modes to the table. Along with the 2 main modes, Conquest being the main ground mode and Assault being the main space mode, both of which we will talk about later on in this video. Battlefront 2 had several modes that could keep the game fresh and exciting for players and keep them coming back to the game. Hunt mode allowed players to play as some of their favorite creatures from the Star Wars universe. Species like Jawas, Tusken Raiders, Wampas, Ewoks, and others defending their home planet against either other species or one of the 4 major factions in the game. It's a good mode to play with friends and mix things up if the main modes begin to grow stale. It introduces new weapons to the game and forces players to adapt their playstyle to how these species play. Assault mode, which is a ground-based mode with the same name as the main space mode for some reason, pits the heroes and villains of the game against each other in the streets of Mos Eisley. While in other modes you have to earn the right to use the heroes, in this mode you spawn as one right away. And instead of a lightsaber in the bottom left corner counting down the time you have left with the hero, you have a regular health bar as if you were playing with a normal trooper. You can actually use the health droid to heal your hero in this mode. This allowed players to recreate some of the famous battles from the movies and fight in a mode that often lasts quite a bit longer than the other ones. There's also a capture the flag mode in this game, which can be fun for a little bit, but gets old pretty quick. The PC port of this game actually has an extra mode called XL, where your only goal is to kill enemy troopers. Being on PC, it allows for an insane amount of troops to be on the map at one time. If you get in one of the AT-ATs on Hoth in this mode, you can easily kill 10 to 15 troopers with a single missile. This large assortment of diverse and engaging modes has kept players coming back to this game for over a decade, and offers a fun experience to just about any type of gamer. Number 7. Space Combat. While the first game allowed players to hop in famous starfighters and fight it out in the air above the battleground, or make strafing runs, this game took it to another level, becoming the first Star Wars game to allow players to engage in large-scale space battles. The main space mode, Assault, sees the two sides fighting to be the first to reach a designated point value. Players receive points for destroying enemy fighters, destroying the enemy's frigates, and destroying the critical systems on the opposing team's capital ship. The last of these can be done by either making bombing runs on the outside of the capital ship, or by flying into the ship's hangar and taking these systems out from the inside. Each faction had 4 types of ships: a fighter, an interceptor, a bomber, and a transport. These ships each fly differently and have different strengths and weaknesses, very similar to how the class system works in the ground battles. Also, if you were able to land a transport in the enemy's hangar, it acted as a temporary command post. Until the enemy destroyed this transport, your team would be able to spawn directly into the enemy's capital ship. Another little fun part of this was you could hop in one of your enemy's fighters and take out their ships from one of their ships. You can't tell me how it wasn't fun to take out TIE fighters from the inside of a TIE fighter. Like most things in this game, the space combat was revolutionary for the time. And all these years later, we have yet to see another Star Wars game that includes these large capital ship battles. Number 6. Vehicles. The only way to follow up talking about space vehicles in this game is to talk about the ground vehicles in this game. Each map has different ground vehicles to help shape the battle. AT-ATs on Hoth, AT-STs on Endor, Chicken Walkers on Naboo, and the IFTX, which was a freaking tank. No, seriously, it's a tank. Just a tank. Hopping in one of these vehicles made you a menace on the battlefield. You could single-handedly turn the tide of a war. You could move quickly between command posts and mow down enemy infantry with ease. Most of these vehicles also had a good deal of health and were very difficult for regular soldiers to bring them down. If you were to come up against one of these vehicles on your own, your best bet would be to either switch to a heavy trooper or try to get your teammates to coordinate with you and focus all your fire on the tank. And if you were playing with friends, there was absolutely nothing more satisfying than blowing them sky high with your missiles, just so you could wait for them to respawn and blow them up again. These vehicles added an extra layer to the battles and always played a role in who ended up winning, but never swung the battle too far to make it unfair. Just another great piece of this amazing game. Number 5. The class system. The class system in Battlefront 2 features 6 classes for each faction. 4 are available at the beginning of the match, while the other 2 can be unlocked by scoring points during the match. The 4 free classes include your basic assault soldier, a heavy soldier with a rocket launcher and mines, a sniper, and an engineer armed with a shotgun and a welding torch that can be used to fix vehicles and turrets. The 2 unlockable classes were special units specific to which faction you were fighting with, such as droidekas, jet troopers, Bothan spies, Wookiee warriors, and Imperial officers. Each of these classes had special abilities that set them apart from the regular 4 classes. For example, the Bothan spy can turn invisible and get behind enemies for a sneak attack, while the droideka, of course, has a deflector shield that makes it difficult to take down. This system of having 4 classes available immediately and then earning the right to use the others later in the game was actually one of the few things the new Battlefront 2 took from this game. And lo and behold, it was one of the few things people loved about that game at launch. I guess it goes to show, if it ain't broke, copy and paste it into a worse version of a game with the same name. Maps. The maps in these games are some of the most gorgeous from this console generation. In any shooter, if the maps feel too similar and don't provide enough engaging diversity, the game will get old very fast. Thankfully, this game came out before Call of Duty and other online shooters turned every map into 3 lanes. These maps are diverse in both size and layout. Each one presented a different mood to the player that matches the planet. Megiddo feels like a once beautiful place destroyed by years of constant fighting. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant feels hectic and chaotic from the close quarter combat, and at the same time empty and eerie because you know how this place should be as opposed to how it currently is. Also, the amount of detail added to some of these maps is just amazing. On Jabba's palace, you can find several little Easter eggs scattered throughout. There's the droid being tortured, a rancor that'll eat you, Gamorrean guards, Jabba himself, and even Han Solo frozen in carbonite. The Jedi Temple features the library, the council chambers, the youngling training room, and even the room where Obi-Wan recorded his message to Jedi who survived the Purge. Every single map has little things like these that show the fans just how much the developers cared about Star Wars and making this game as great as it is. These added to the intensity of the game and the immersion the player feels in the Star Wars universe that no game since has even come close to matching. Number 3. Heroes. Freaking heroes. Never before had a game given us the ability to play as this many iconic Star Wars characters. Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, the Emperor, Count Dooku, Anakin and Luke Skywalker, General Grievous, Han Solo, Princess Leia. And that's not even half the playable characters. Once you've gained enough points over the course of a match, you are asked if you would like to play as one of these heroes. Sure. You then redeploy as your faction's hero. Heroes match the map and era you are playing on, so you're not going to be playing as Darth Maul on the Death Star, you plebs. Also, these heroes were extremely powerful. Almost all of them could one-hit kill enemies with ease. And frankly, that's how it should be. These heroes are the legends of the Star Wars universe. They're meant to be above the soldiers they are fighting alongside. Once you gain control of one of these heroes, you could tear the enemy apart like a Tauntaun's med section. You felt like you were single-handedly turning the tide of the battle, just how one of these characters really would. Each kill would extend the amount of time you had to use the character, giving you a sense of urgency and making it essential for you to push forward on the enemy and take them out. And yet when you eventually do die as the hero, you don't dread going back to being just a regular trooper, because you've made so much progress in the battle. You're psyched to get back into the fight and finish what you started. Number 2. Galactic Conquest. Galactic Conquest was such an in-depth game mode for the time. It puts you in command of one of the 4 factions in the game, gives you a single fleet of regular troopers, and tells you to go conquer the galaxy. It plays like a giant game of Risk, where you and your enemy takes turns moving your fleet across the map. When you move to an enemy planet, you invade and play a land battle. If you win, you take control of the planet, but if you lose, your fleet is destroyed and you have to construct a new fleet over one of the planets you control. The stakes always feel incredibly high, just as war should be. At the beginning of each turn, you are given credits for each planet you control. You can use these credits to recruit different types of troopers, or to purchase bonuses, some of which can be incredibly powerful. You can get a hero bonus that lets you use your team's hero, the garrison bonus, which allows you to deploy the garrison if your reinforcement count drops too low, and sabotage vehicles, which can be very useful in space battles and maps that rely on vehicles like Naboo and Kashyyyk. Using these bonuses right can shift the war in your favor in a hurry. This game mode was so fun because no matter how many times you played it, it'll never play out the exact same way twice. There are always different paths you can take to try to conquer the galaxy faster. Once you finish off your enemy, you get a cool little cutscene specific to which faction you played with, congratulating you on your epic conquest. This game mode offered so much fun gameplay and countless amount of replayability, and that's why it earned the number 2 spot on our list. Number 1. Rise of the Empire. The only thing Star Wars fans who grew up with the prequels love more than 18-year-old Natalie Portman, Rise of the Empire is one of the deepest Star Wars stories ever portrayed in a video game. The campaign begins with you recounting your time as a member of the legendary fighting 501st Legion. The first level takes you to Megiddo for a very interesting mission. You find out through a cutscene that you and your Jedi commander, Ki-Adi-Mundi, are sent to secure a unique power source that Chancellor Palpatine wanted for the Death Star. There's such an incredible insight into how Palpatine used not just the clones and the Jedi, but the war as a whole to acquire and set up what he needed to put his empire in place. It's a very short example of how manipulative he was and how he used his position to perfection to grab complete control of the galaxy. And before we move on to the rest of the story, let's talk about the cutscenes in this game. Tamara Morrison delivers the perfectly written 501st journal entries before and after each mission. Morrison portrayed Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones along with Commander Cody, and all the CGI clones in Revenge of the Sith. That's a lot. His delivery in these cutscenes is perfect as you hear this retired clone trooper looking back on the horrors he saw and the things he did in the war. You sympathize with what he and the other clones went through as the Clone Wars neared its end and the Empire began to take shape. Following the first mission, you continue fighting famous battles from the end of the Clone Wars. The Battle of Coruscant, the Battle of Kashyyyk, the Battle of Utapau. You even get to recreate epic duels between General Grievous and Obi-Wan Kenobi. As you continue through the missions, the cutscenes become darker and darker, giving little snapshots of what you're building up to. The end of the war, and the greatest Star Wars video game level in history, Nightfall. And it brings with it the best cutscene in the game. Mr. Morrison, the floor is yours.
What I remember about the rise of the Empire is how quiet it was. During the waning hours of the Clone Wars, the 501st Legion was discreetly transferred back to Coruscant. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we're about to do. Did we have any doubts? Any private, traitorous thoughts? Perhaps, but no one said a word. Not on the flight to Coruscant, not when Order 66 came down, and not when we marched into the Jedi Temple. Not a word.
Not a word. The perfect way to set up this mission. You walk into the Jedi Temple and have to take the Council Chamber room. You walk into the main hall and it's practically empty. You see a few Temple guards, but there's no Jedi. It's creepy, and you wonder where they're at. Then as you make your way up the steps to the Council Chamber room, you get ambushed by Jedi, and you see them slaughter your buddies, and you have to fight for your life against some of the most powerful enemies in the campaign. After this mission, you and the rest of the 501st transition from being clone troopers to stormtroopers, and do several missions that take place in between episodes 3 and 4. Taking out the Queen of Naboo, putting down a clone rebellion on Kamino, and destroying the droid army for good on Mustafar are very cool missions that show it wasn't so simple for the Emperor after taking control of the galaxy. Eventually, the story catches up with the original trilogy. Fighting battles on Tantive 4, Yavin 4, that's a lot of 4s, and the epic final battle on Hoth helps brings this great Star Wars story to conclusion. On the final battle on Hoth, you end up destroying the Rebel transports before they can take off, changing history and preventing the Rebels from fleeing. You end the war with one quick stroke. After this is over, you honestly feel a little guilty about helping the bad guys win, and you wonder what it would have been like if that had happened instead of the Rebels getting away. It makes you wonder about the Star Wars story as a whole and how very easily it all could have changed. It truly is the greatest Star Wars story ever in a video game, and the best thing to love about Star Wars Battlefront 2. So that's it, guys. That's my list of the top 10 things to love about Star Wars Battlefront 2 2005. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Did I leave something off, or did I have some things out of order that you would have changed? Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and please hit subscribe for more top 10 gaming videos. Alright, that's all for me. Now, memes.